TEP production. Giving out instruction. I just keep it intact, this is a fact, right and exact, I won't step back. Admiration is the feeling that inspires your brain to make you gain self-knowledge, not go insane. I'm Satan's antagonist, acknowledge what I speak. I cannot be duplicated cause I'm born unique. Brother Kareem told me if I want it, I gotta take it. Kareem told me if we need it, we gotta make it. Nasir just said stand up and be a man. You're planning to fail if you fail to plan. Keep your circle tight, know your plight, fight with all your might. Study hard, stay in shape and everything will be alright.
This beat is slapping, before I make it happen I just wanna ask, may I rise higher with fire, made brighter than May, sharp lines, may climb and rhyme and may timing like sirens, may my thoughts may spray as I sway, may play with the day, may each bar may spark from the dark, may making the arc, may I shift, may gifted with riffs, may lifted no myth, may move clean, smooth in between, may carving out the scene, may words guide my glide as the tide, may ride on the inside, may minds free, may deep in the key, may shape in the sea, may I shine, may prime in my rhyme, may throw in the sign, may break norms, may storms in the red form, may lightning is born.
Let's go.
I don't know how I got here. I just know I'm never going back. Just when I thought things were already crazy, it gets worse.
I'm back.
Quan?
Sapphire struggles to deal with her husband's alleged betrayal and coming to terms with Quan being alive after thinking he was deceased. Devante tries to keep a level head while dealing with family issues and unexpected disloyalty. Memories of Dre enters Devante's life in a way that he would have never imagined.
Fire Part 2, the finale.
Get your copy of Fire. It's definitely a must-read. If you enjoy hood books, this one is it. Just like the title of the book, it's officially Fire. Get it on Amazon, paperback or Kindle.
Peace. This is The Enemy's Public, and I am your brother Nasir. This evening, we are going to talk about United States jurisprudence, corrupt to the core. We're going to get into that. I got my brother Big Dog Philly OG coming through to chop it up with me on this subject. Just waiting for him. Meanwhile, I'm going to play some music selections, community music selections, of course. And we're going to get into this. These subjects actually makes itself. It makes itself. We're going to start off. Let's see. Let me go down a little bit. Let me see now. We're going to go here. Bear with me. Not this video. Let me see.
In this video,
partner in technical difficulties. Just give me 1 second. And we'll get into it.
In the American justice system, there's
no such thing as an American justice system. When you go to their court system looking for justice, you find just us. That's all you find. And it's a system. Trying to find this music that I decided to play music at the last minute, because I usually just get into the subject. I decided to play music at the last minute, but
we will uncover a disturbing pattern hidden behind black robes and courtroom authority.
Yeah, we're going to start with judges. When we do get into the subject matter, we're going to start with judges, the self-righteous as judges who like to sentence people to prison time when they're criminals them damn selves. But we're going to start with some music. We're going to do some music. First, we're going to do music first, then we're going to get into the subject matter. Like 4 music selections, then we're going to get into the subject matter. Justice is a lie.
It ain't about the freedom, it ain't about the light. It's the oil and the soil and the power in the fight. Liberty is a ghost, justice is a lie. They sell us a flag while the innocent die.
We will stop racing to topple foreign foreign regimes.
They sell us a flag while the innocent die. They painting targets on a map while we sleep in the dark. Another strike on Tehran to ignite the first spark. 40 years of the hustle, 40 years of the game. One man pulling the wires, BB is the name. He whispered in the ears of the kings in the west. Fabricated files for the ultimate test. Claiming nukes in the basement, a lie told so well. To drag a whole nation through the gates of a hell. From the 80s to now, the script never changed. Just the faces in the office while the blood is arranged. A master of leverage, a ghost in the hall. Watching empires crumble while he stands tall. It ain't about the freedom, it ain't about the light. It's the oil in the soil and the power in the fight. Liberty is a ghost, justice is a lie. They sell us a flag while the innocent die.
When we are finished, take over your government.
Trump made
they sell us a
regime
flag
change.
while the innocent die. They came the orange man promising a brand new day. Said he'd bring the boys home, blow the smoke all away. No more endless crusades, no more desert graves. But the lobby's got a grip on the way he behaves. He talked about peace while he tightened the noose, letting the dogs of a regional conflict get loose. Breaking the deals that were keeping the peace, ensuring the cycle would never quite cease. They claim it's for safety, they claim it's for God. But the boots on the ground find the logic is flawed. Just a pawn on a board for a grander design, crossing every single humanitarian line. It ain't about the freedom, it ain't about the light. It's the oil and the soil and the power in the fight. Liberty is a ghost, justice is a lie. They sell us a flag while the innocent die.
But it's not America's war, it's Israel's war.
And you call it patriotism to follow the trend, to support a destruction you can't comprehend. Blind loyalty is a shackle, a mental decay, especially for my people who were traded for pay. How you gonna march for a war in the sand when you're still catching hell in your own native land? Black skin in a uniform, dying for the greed of the same architects who ignore what we need. That ain't love for the country, that's just being the fool, being the hammer for a billionaire's tool. Resource extraction, the heart of the plan. They don't care about the women or the children in Iran. They want the minerals, the crude, and the strategic ground. Why the media silence is the only real sound. They mock the Constitution, they spit on the brave, turning every democracy into a grave. Wake up from the fever, look past the screen, see the gears of the corporate military machine. Truth is the casualty buried in the sand by the liars and the puppets who were running the land. Ain't about the freedom, it ain't about the light. It's the oil and the soil and the power in the fight. Liberty is a ghost, justice is a lie. They sell us a flag while the innocent die.
Now we're going to go to my brother Dre Cobb's music, Indian Trails.
Indian trails to the freeways. We make the hustle look easy. Trapping burns all season. The way we push our line. Yeah, we are still the people from those times. Yeah, through it all we continue to shine. 'Cause Indian trails make freeways over time. Indian trails make freeways over time.
I feel the ancestors, they still with us. They give us the fight when we in the field with it. Blood on the foundation, we build with it. The echoes of the past shapes the mold. From the cotton to the concrete, the story's been told. And let the real American Indian story unfold. Take pictures with the flames, let it burn in your soul. We carved from the land, they tried to erase us with one wave of the hand, but still we stand. How you doing the treaty? That ain't your man, the game was planned. They drew them lines, and on them trails they see the world through an Indian's eyes. They say the colonizer came, and the Indian died. But I told you we still here, it's time to instill fear for thinking they can come in. Aborigine, our family legacies is deep in our memories. Cherokee, Chickasaw, and Choctaw, fucking with the chiefs and get you knocked off. The warrior spirit still inside. Granny's strength with granddaddy's pride. And them stories that was left behind. This is my path, and I'ma finish this trail in due time. Ain't nothing fucking with my bloodline. We shine, it's part of my design.
Indian trails to the freeways. We make the hustle look easy. Trapping ferns all season. The way we push our line. Yeah, we are still the people from those times. Yeah, through it all we continue to shine. 'Cause Indian trails make freeways over time. Yeah, Indian trails make freeways over
Heavy is the head that wears the feathered crown. We built it from the ground, from Cahokia to the Etowah Mounds. They know what they found. The copper-colored Indians with a knowledge profound. With the carvings and the paintings that was left all around. Riding on the Indian trails, yeah, holding it down. Going back to what my family name on the town. Blood in the soil, roots deep in the ground. We honor those who came before us now.
I'll die an Indian, and that's it. I don't care what my complexion is. It doesn't matter. My kids are Indian, and I'm Indian.
Oh yeah, they see it shining now. Indian trails make freeways over time.
Now we're going to go to Hood Politics Part 1. My brother, Dangerous Meat.
Class in session, so it's time for you to get the notes. The quickest way to sell your soul is when you niggas vote. This shit I'm kicking is forbidden, better listen, bro. A politician preaching love is the biggest joke. See what they do is use the shit as a tool. Got us focused on these fools and putting shit in our food. Fighting to free your mind is kinda hollow but true. The system make you a zombie if you follow the rules, so we rebel. But not too many live it to tell, till they find the cheat code using digital scales. Paradise is aborted when the mission is failed. Heaven and hell collide like prison and jail. And you don't need religion just to say you awake. You even dumber than you look, you think you came from an ape. Religion needs science, science need religion. One tell a story and the other paint the picture. But listen, nigga, if you dig a little deeper, you can find that little rabbit in the mother of the reaper. I'm the best for a reason. There's a message in the speaker when the cosmos talking. That's a blessing from the ether. One day I met the devil for real and made a deal with him. Told him all I want is the money and kept it real with him. Came in the form of a thought I couldn't build with him. Shit I was selling the fiends was really killing him. Your gun bars ain't much if your gat don't shoot. I'm strapped and bulletproof like the Batman suit. All it takes is one snap to have my enemies killed. The laws in space and time, I could bend them at will. Yeah, I'm in the world that some of y'all have not seen, and living on the page that some of y'all cannot read. And right now they probably calling me cheap, cause I decided it's enough and now I finally speak. Tell you the truth, I don't trust people who cheat. It's deeper than having sex, you give birth to deceit. If you see where this is going, this is true as can be. If you lie to the ones you love, then you do it to me. The cold word is rainy night. Niggas get wet outside, but ain't no rain in sight. They wonder where this come from. Ascension when it's all done. No reason to believe in a God. When you become one, you understand. You can get it the same. Niggas will double cross you if you get them the fame. My soul ain't for sale just to get in the game. It's dangerous, homie, just remember the name.
That's my brother, Dangerous Music. Salute to my brother, Philly OG. How you doing this evening, brother?
Yeah, I'm here, good brother. Give me 1 second to get out of this noise.
The next
Yeah, I'm
video I'm
good.
going to play. How you
Yeah, I'm
doing,
here,
brother?
good brother. I'm doing good. Much love and respect to you and the family. I apologize for the noise. Much love and respect to everybody in the chat, man. Everything good brother. I'm here.
Salute to my brother Keith Lamont, Max V. Salute. Thanks for coming through. Thanks for everybody that's coming through. Those who didn't even leave a comment. Thanks anyway for showing up and joining this evening. Now the next song I'm going to play, this is the last song I'm playing. And this is Huey King, Mama Crying, the official video.
Year-old is facing 20 years behind bars after being arrested today for a daytime show.
Hey, I gotta stay on my toes. People keep plotting on taking my soul. Pull up and hop up the road. Used to be at the bus stop in the cold. I gotta stay on my heels and keys. I'm guessing young people don't. This is my story from. We was really out here wildin'. Do a drive by to hear the sirens. Wasn't no food up in my belly. I remember days my stomach growling. I just hate to see my mama crying. No, I'm not giving up, I'm really trying. Gotta keep my head on the swivel, cause I know a lot of people out here dying. We was really out here wildin'. Do a drive by to hear the sirens. Wasn't no food up in my belly. I remember days my stomach growling. I just hate to see my mama crying. No, I'm not giving up, I'm really trying. Gotta keep my head on the swivel, cause I know a lot of people out here dying. Back and forth to that courthouse, caught a couple cases, had to fight it. We ran from the cops, put the drugs in the bushes, hope they don't find it. Down prison, had a shank on me every other week, it was a riot. I lost 30 pounds in that jail cell when I wasn't even on a diet. This is real life, it ain't nothing real. See that car crash, almost guess God told me that it wasn't time. I'm just really looking at the bigger picture. Fell out with a couple of family members, been years since we had a family dinner. Last time was when my granny passed away, that's what it takes for us to get together. Hey, I gotta stay on my toes. People keep plotting on taking my soul. Pull up and hop up the road. Used to be at the bus stop in the cold. I gotta stay on my hands and keys. I'm guessing young people don't. This is my story from. We was really out here wildin'. Do a drive by to hear the sirens. Wasn't no food up in my belly. I remember days my stomach growling. I just hate to see my mama crying. No, I'm not giving up, I'm really trying. Gotta keep my head on the swivel, cause I know a lot of people out here dying. We was really out here wildin'. Do a drive by to hear the sirens. Wasn't no food up in my belly. I remember days my stomach growling. I just hate to see my mama crying. No, I'm not giving up, I'm really trying. Gotta keep my head on the swivel, cause I know a lot of people out here dying.
That was Huey King, Mama Crying. That joint fire. I love that joint.
That is fire, good brother.
Let me scroll back up so I can get to our subject matter. We're going to cover We're going to cover this corrupt government this evening because they're so quick to put a law into effect. As a matter of fact, the QE King video, this got over 1 million views. Over 1 million views, this video, which is a good thing. I'm really proud of this video too. He's doing some good things with his music. But we're going to get into corrupt to the core. We're going to talk about the United States jurisprudence. You know, we are living in a lawless society. People claim to be about law and order when they are the main ones who break the law. And we are at the apex of corruption and lawlessness in the United States. From all the way from municipality to legislative parts of the government, all the way to the executive branch of government, from the city council person all the way to the president of the United States. Nobody does things, you know, the correct way, and nobody has any type of decorum. It's not as if these officers were not a cesspool in the first place, but today they're even worse. What do you think, brother?
I definitely agree. Corrupt to the core. I always use the example of bad fruit or bad meat. Would you eat that? Would you partake in that? No. In this corporation, this government, the same way. Big facts, brother.
Yeah, I mean, the entire government, brother, nobody, so you telling me that nobody in any level of government are any good? That's where we're at. Nobody's
And
any
through
good.
my research, brother, you know, it's a bunch of bad apples. So if it is one apple in that jam, it's gonna rot like the rest of them.
It's gonna spoil it.
Yes, sir.
It's gonna get spoiled because, you know, what you said was a profound statement because it's true. Because you ever notice that when somebody's on a lower level of government, they're for the people. But as soon as they start rising up, want to be governors and, you know what I'm saying, want to rise up, then they start getting crooked. The more and more they go up, the more crooked they get when they rise up the ranks in government. You have people that's like on the city council, some of them may be doing things for people in the community, but once they become mayor, they forget about those who voted for them. Then they become probably congressmen and senators or governors. The more and more they rise up in the ranks of government, the more crooked they become and more like far removed from the people they are also. They'll come around every 4 years, probably the third year when the election season is coming up. They'll come around trying to solicit a vote from the people. But after that, you don't see them once they get the office that you give them. But we're going to get into corrupt judges who were sentenced to prison. That's what we're going to start with. Corrupt judges who were sent to prison. It's like if half of them would do their job, the other half would be in jail. I'm gonna run this back because it was already in progress, so I'm gonna run it back and start it over. Corrupt judges who were sentenced to prison. A lot of them should be sent to prison.
In this video, we will uncover a disturbing pattern hidden behind black robes and courtroom authority, judges who crossed the line from enforcing the law to violating it. From bribery and corruption to violence, addiction, and abuse of power, these cases expose how justice can be twisted from the inside. This is not about isolated scandals. It's about a system tested at its highest level, and what happens when those meant to protect the law betray it. Gerald Garson, State, New York, age 83. Before 2001, Gerald Garson occupied a position few people ever question. As a justice of the New York Supreme Court, the state's trial-level court, he presided over divorce cases, asset divisions, and custody battles where every ruling reshaped families and determined the futures of children. Over time, Garson became a familiar figure to a small circle of high-profile family law attorneys, lawyers who handled bitter, high-stakes divorces and learned exactly which judges controlled outcomes. In that quiet ecosystem, oversight was minimal and transparency was thin. When decisions are made in sealed hearings, with judges protected by tradition and trust, the most dangerous question often goes unasked: who watches the judge? In 2001, that silence became an opportunity. Garson began accepting cash bribes from attorneys who wanted more than legal advocacy. They wanted guaranteed results. Money was exchanged discreetly, far from official records, far from transcripts, far from anything a litigant.
Meaning these lawyers and the judge was in cahoots, and they were paying for the judge to rule a certain way, actually paying for verdicts. And a lot of times these judges would take the power away from the jury and he would decide on the case. And they always say the jury is doing their civic duty to go through all that. They'll have people go through all that, be a petite juror, and then go through all that and sit and listen to the case, prosecutor and defense attorney going back and forth to have their power taken away from them. They'll corrupt to the core. And I personally think judges have entirely too much power. Entirely too much power. Because if they come to work in a bad mood, they can affect everybody's day that come before them if they come to work in a bad mood.
And could challenge on appeal. In return, rulings tilted. One parent suddenly appeared more fit. One spouse mysteriously prevailed in asset disputes. Custody, arguably the most emotionally devastating decision a court can make, was quietly assigned to the highest bidder. In these moments, justice was no longer blind. It was priced. The shock was not just the corruption itself, but how efficiently it worked. A child's future reduced to an envelope of cash. From 2001 to 2003, the scheme repeated itself across multiple cases. Certain attorneys came to view Garson as a backdoor solution, a shortcut through the unpredictability of family court. The system absorbed the damage silently. The judge's authority went unquestioned. The beneficiaries stayed quiet. The losing parents walked away believing the law had failed.
See, the ones who have the most money, it's not like that anything has changed with that. The ones who have the most money can sway the judge. That's how it is in the first place. Because if they appoint a attorney for you, if they tell you when they're reading your Miranda rights that if you can't afford an attorney, one will be appointed to you. And then if you get a public defender, that public defender, they really don't act on your behalf. They try to get you to plead to a lesser charge, even if you haven't done the crime, because they are an agent of the court. That attorney, court-appointed attorney, is not employed by you. They're employed by the court. So they're not going to act on your behalf. Try to get you to plead to a charge that you didn't do, only to move on and get on with the case, get it over with. And that's not justice at all.
Killed them, never realizing the verdict had been sold. Corruption didn't announce itself. It blended in, protected by robes, procedure, and power. In 2003, that protection cracked. Federal investigators noticed irregular patterns and personal connections that no longer looked coincidental. Lawyers began cooperating. Financial trails emerged. Private exchanges were dragged into public view. The man who had judged thousands now stood accused by the very system he once represented. By 2004 and 2005, Garson either pleaded guilty or was convicted, receiving a sentence of 3 to 10 years and permanent removal from the bench. Yet the ending unsettled more than it resolved. Garson served roughly 3.5 years. No sweeping review of his past rulings followed.
And that's the hypocrisy of America's jurisprudence. This man probably sentenced people in his career as a judge. He probably handed out thousands of years in prison. And when he's caught being a corrupt judge, he does 3.5 years. And they want to tell us that America's jurisprudence is the best in the world. No, it's the best for those who are underhanded, those who have money and influence. It works for them, but it don't work for the people. They have "We the People" written all over the courthouses, but they're not for we the people. So we have to be for we the people and expose the corruption of America's jurisprudence and the hypocrisy of America's jurisprudence.
No comprehensive relief for families torn apart by tainted decisions. Justice had acknowledged the crime, but left the consequences largely untouched. The lingering question remains: how many parents lost their children? How many families were broken? And who will ever repay that damage? Michael T. Joyce, State, Pennsylvania, age 76. Before 2001, Michael T. Joyce stood firmly inside the machinery of justice. As a judge on the Pennsylvania Superior Court, he was not a fringe figure but a trusted authority, deeply familiar with civil procedure, financial disputes, and compensation claims. He understood how liability was argued, how damages were calculated, and how insurance companies weighed medical evidence. This knowledge gave him power, quiet, technical power, the kind that doesn't draw headlines but shapes outcomes. And yet that assumption masked a dangerous reality. When a judge knows the law better than everyone else in the room, who is positioned to stop him from bending it? In early 2001, Joyce was involved in a car accident that, on paper, looked unremarkable. No deaths, no dramatic injuries, just another traffic incident destined for routine paperwork and quiet resolution. But to Joyce, the accident represented more than a moment of bad luck. He understood insurance thresholds, coverage limits, and the precise language that transformed minor injuries into major claims. What should have been a closed chapter became an opportunity. The shock wasn't the accident itself. It was the mindset shift. A judge began to see his own misfortune as a case file, a financial instrument waiting to be leveraged. Later that year, Joyce crossed the line from knowledge to exploitation. He exaggerated injuries, misrepresented consequences, and submitted insurance claims built on falsehoods. Every step was calculated. Every statement was shaped by his intimate understanding of how insurers evaluated credibility. The law, which he had sworn to uphold, became a tool for personal gain. This was not impulsive fraud. It was deliberate, informed, and methodical, proof that legal expertise, in the wrong hands, can become a weapon. By the end of 2001, the story began to unravel. Insurance investigators noticed inconsistencies between medical records and sworn statements. Discrepancies accumulated. What Joyce assumed would pass unnoticed instead triggered scrutiny. The case escalated beyond administrative review and into a federal criminal investigation. Soon, the man who once reviewed appeals was facing charges himself. The question lingered uncomfortably. If he were an ordinary citizen, would the system have looked this closely, or would it have looked even harder? In 2002 and 2003, Joyce was convicted and sentenced to 46 months in prison. His judicial career ended abruptly, publicly, and permanently. Media coverage framed the case as a collapse of trust, a symbol of how legal knowledge could be corrupted.
That's why they should be punished more than the average person, because the average person never swore to uphold the law. The average person never, not even sworn to obey the law. But a judge who have people come before him and he behave in a self-righteous manner, scolding people who either did a crime or made some type of mistake in life, but they'll talk to people like they're perfect and they're above reproach, and they behave in a self-righteous hypocrites who look down on other people as if they're so righteous. And then we look at them closely and they're no better than the hardened criminal on the damn street.
Into fraud. Yet the final act left a bitter aftertaste. Joyce served only about 10 months before being released early. No sweeping review of cases he touched. No visible effort to restore public confidence. On paper, justice was done. In reality, it felt abbreviated. And the lasting question remains, was this accountability, or simply a lighter sentence reserved?
They are quick to tell us to trust them. We can't trust them when they allow their constituents to get away with major crimes. They get away with major crimes. Judges, police officers, prosecutors, defense attorneys, they get away with major crimes. A defense attorney can lie in the courtroom about what happened with his client and nobody checked that. They may say, they may object. The judge may sustain the objection, but won't check him on that lie. Tell him if he perjured himself again, he would be held. They perjure themselves, especially when they defend cops. When a defense attorney defend a cop, they are the biggest pieces of crap and liars ever step in a courtroom.
For someone who once wore the robe. Joan Ori Melvin, State, Pennsylvania, age 69. Before 2003, Joan Ori Melvin was deeply embedded in Pennsylvania's judicial and political machinery. As a justice of the Pennsylvania Supreme Court, she was not only a legal authority, but a product of a politically connected family with long-standing influence in state elections. Years of operating within court systems and campaign networks gave her an insider's understanding of how public money moved, how staff were assigned, and where the legal boundaries between official duty and political activity were supposed to lie. More importantly, she knew how those boundaries could be blurred without immediately raising alarms. In 2003, that knowledge was put to use. As Melvin prepared for election and re-election efforts, state resources quietly began to shift from public service to personal ambition. Court employees were redirected from judicial work to campaign-related tasks. Government computers, phones, and work hours were repurposed to plan political strategy, draft materials, and coordinate outreach. None of it happened after hours or off-site. It happened inside government offices, during paid workdays, hidden in plain sight. The shock was not that campaigning occurred, but that the state itself had effectively become a secret campaign headquarters. From 2003 through 2009, the abuse continued methodically. Staff members were instructed to prepare campaign documents, schedule political appearances, and communicate with donors and voters, all while officially serving the court. The system sustained itself through hierarchy and fear. Subordinates understood the power Melvin held over their careers, and silence became the price of job security. Each misused hour of public labor disappeared into routine, leaving no immediate victim to complain, no single moment dramatic enough to expose the pattern. The damage accumulated quietly, measured not in headlines but in stolen time and eroded trust. By 2009, the facade began to crack. Internal complaints and oversight inquiries surfaced, triggered by digital trails that could not be fully erased. Emails related to campaign activity were traced back to government systems. Timestamps revealed political work performed during official hours. What once seemed invisible suddenly looked organized. Small messages exposed a long-running operation, and the matter escalated beyond ethics concerns into potential criminal conduct. Between 2010 and 2012, Pennsylvania prosecutors launched a formal investigation. Melvin was charged with multiple offenses tied to corruption, fraud, and misuse of public resources. The case drew statewide attention, forcing the public to confront a troubling contradiction. A judge entrusted to interpret the law was accused of systematically violating it. In 2013, she was convicted and sentenced to 3 years of house arrest, probation, and community service. And
it's been people who did a fraction of what she did and got sentenced to decades in prison, and they did every day of that decade, at least 85% of it. If these people violate the trust in an office, why are the court system, the jurisprudence is so lenient on them? They should be punished more severely than the people if they are doing crimes that they sign into legislation. They should do a lot more time than people they sentence to jail if they're caught doing the same damn crime. But the courts are lenient on them. They're corrupt.
And removed from the bench. There was no prison term, no sweeping financial restitution. The sentence closed the case, but not the debate. For many observers, the outcome raised a final, unsettling question. Was this punishment strong enough to deter abuse, or simply the acceptable cost of power? When
it's not strong enough to deter abuse, if a judge is handed out a severe sentence, a harsh, severe sentence, and are made to do all of it, that will send a message. The message they're sending is, if you break the law, you'll get a slap on the wrist. That's the message they're sending to each other. Well, they're constituents. That's why it happens that way, because they're constituent.
When the offender once wore the robe. Mark E. Fuller, State, Alabama, age 66. Before 2014, Mark E. Fuller represented one of the most insulated positions in the American justice system. As a United States District Judge for the Middle District of Alabama, he wielded federal authority over serious criminal cases, civil disputes, and constitutional questions, decisions that could alter lives permanently. Appointed for life under the U.S. Constitution, Fuller operated within a structure designed to protect judicial independence, but one that also made accountability extraordinarily difficult. Short of impeachment, removal was nearly impossible. Internal discipline was limited, opaque, and rarely public. That question collided with reality in August 2014. Inside an Atlanta hotel room, far from the bench but not from consequence, a domestic dispute escalated into violence. Police reports described a chaotic scene. Fuller's wife showed visible injuries and was recorded as being in clear distress. Officers did not find a respected federal jurist.
This would be the same man who will have someone involved in domestic violence scolding a man severely or a woman severely, saying a man shouldn't hit a woman, should never hit a woman. He's correct. A man should never hit a woman. But 60% of police officers beat their wives and their women. And as we can see on this video, that judges beat their wives also. As a matter of fact, the former mayor of my city I grew up in, John Lynch, became a senator. He was convicted of beating his wife. So all these legislators, these lawmakers, these judges, they're nothing but a bunch of hypocrites because they be the main ones breaking the laws.
That night, they found a suspect. Fuller was arrested at the scene and charged with domestic violence. The shock was immediate and visceral. A man accustomed to sentencing defendants in federal court was now handcuffed, processed, and exposed, if only briefly, to the system he once controlled. What followed underscored the imbalance many critics feared. The case moved through Georgia's criminal justice system without a prolonged trial or the kind of scrutiny typically faced by ordinary defendants. Fuller did not receive a prison sentence. Instead, he entered a 24-week domestic violence counseling program, a resolution that allowed him to avoid a serious criminal record. Legally, the case closed quietly. Publicly, it detonated. Observers questioned whether the outcome reflected justice or deference. From late 2014 into 2015, backlash intensified. Legal scholars, advocacy groups, and domestic violence organizations condemned the apparent leniency. Commentators pointed not only to the assault itself, but to what followed: the absence of impeachment proceedings, the reluctance of federal institutions to act decisively, and the broader pattern of judicial self-protection. The system that could prosecute thousands seemed paralyzed when confronting one of its own. Strength, it appeared, was selectively applied. Under sustained public pressure, Fuller resigned from the federal bench in 2015. The resignation ended his judicial authority, but also neatly sidestepped formal impeachment. There was no prison time, no definitive federal judgment on his conduct. The case closed administratively, not morally. In the years since, Markey Fuller's name has become shorthand for a troubling paradox: immense power paired with minimal accountability. His story continues to fuel debate over lifetime appointments and judicial discipline, and it leaves behind a final, unresolved question.
And that's the thing. That's not justice when you have lifetime appointments to the bench. That means that the government, the people, the taxpayers have to pay this judge for the rest of their lives to not serve the people. And most of the time, they do not act in the best interest of the people. We can see this. They do not act in the best interest of the people. They act in the best interest of their constituents, and they act in the best interest of fellow politicians, covering up crimes that politicians commit, covering up the unthinkable type of crimes that some of these politicians are into that involve children. The most famous one of this time, the Epstein files. It's federal judges helping to cover this up. Politicians shouldn't have power over everything. Now, my sentiment is the office of the president should be abolished. It shouldn't be nobody higher than Speaker of the House. The president's office is a cesspool, always have been. They abuse that power and they use the presidency as their own personal piggy bank. They rob the people of billions of dollars while they're in that office. So that office should just be abolished because it's worthless.
If a federal judge can walk away from violence without incarceration, is justice truly equal or merely conditional on who wears the robe? Donald Thompson, State, Oklahoma, age 78. Before 2001, Donald Thompson occupied a position that demanded absolute restraint. As a county judge in Oklahoma, he presided over criminal proceedings where defendants' freedom hung on his words. His authority was nearly total. Few questioned it. Fewer still imagined that the same power designed to protect dignity could be used to violate it. When the person who enforces decorum loses self-control, the damage does not stay private, it contaminates the room. Around 2001, that blind spot turned into routine misconduct. While actively presiding over court sessions, Thompson engaged in sexually inappropriate behavior at the bench, using a device on his private area while court business continued. These acts did not occur in isolation or secrecy. They happened with a court clerk seated nearby, within a public courtroom, surrounded by legal documents, defendants, and the formal machinery of justice. The shock was not only the behavior itself, but the setting. The space designed to protect victims and enforce the law was being violated from its highest seat. From 2001 to 2003, the misconduct continued repeatedly. This was not a single lapse or moment of poor judgment. It became a pattern. Thompson relied on the silence his position guaranteed. Clerks and staff understood the power imbalance immediately. He controlled schedules, evaluations, and careers. Speaking out meant professional risk, retaliation, or disbelief. There were no clear protections, no confidential reporting systems strong enough to challenge a sitting judge. As a result, staff endured ongoing harassment and psychological distress, forced to normalize behavior that should never have existed in a courtroom. The system's silence was not consent, it was fear. In 2003, that silence finally broke. A court clerk formally reported Thompson's conduct, triggering a criminal investigation. Investigators gathered detailed statements, confirming the behavior occurred inside the courtroom, multiple times and within a coercive work environment where refusal or escape was not realistically possible. What had been hidden behind authority was now documented. By 2004 and 2005, Thompson faced criminal prosecution. The trial exposed disturbing details about how deeply the misconduct had penetrated daily court operations. He was convicted on charges related to public indecency and abuse of office and sentenced to 4 years in prison. His removal from the bench ended his judicial career entirely. The case became one of Oklahoma's most notorious judicial scandals, not simply because of the acts themselves, but because of what they revealed.
Now we're going to move on from this video to another video on judges. We're going to get to other forms of corruption in America.
In the American justice system, judges are seen as the ultimate guardians of law and fairness, people entrusted with the power to decide the fate of others. But what happens when those very judges betray that trust. This is the story of 5 U.S. judges who traded their robes for prison uniforms. Our first case takes us to Lucerne County, Pennsylvania, in what became one of the most shocking judicial scandals in U.S. history, the infamous Kids for Cash case. Judge Mark Ciavarella was once a respected figure, but behind the bench, he was profiting from injustice. Ciavarella accepted millions in kickbacks from private juvenile detention centers, sending kids, some as young as 11, to jail for minor offenses like mocking a school official online or trespassing in an abandoned building. The sentences were harsh. The motives were corrupt.
These judges were sending children to jail in prison, not for fighting. If you was there when the fight went on, if you was there, these judges were sending you to jail just for being there, not arresting the teachers, not arresting the paraprofessionals, not arresting the adults that's around, but the children. People, violating and mistreating the most vulnerable in our society, and that's the children. Sent them to jail because they were getting kickbacks from private prisons, making millions of dollars, getting thousands of dollars per child, sending them to these private prisons.
And when the truth came out in 2011, Ciavarella was sentenced to 28 years in federal prison. He didn't act alone. His co-conspirator, Judge Michael Conahan, was equally guilty. As the president judge of Luzerne County, Conahan shut down the county's public juvenile detention center, forcing all juvenile cases into the private facilities that were paying him off. He made millions, but at the cost of destroying young lives. In 2011, he was sentenced to 17 and a half years in prison. Together, Ciavarella and Conahan's scheme sent shock waves across the nation, forever tarnishing the image of the judiciary. From Pennsylvania, we moved to Galveston, Texas, where a federal judge named Samuel Kent thought he was untouchable. Appointed for life, Kent was accused by multiple female employees of sexual harassment and assault. Instead of facing the charges head-on, he tried to use his position to obstruct justice. But in 2009, the law caught up with him. Kent pleaded guilty to obstruction and was sentenced to 33 months in prison. It was a stunning fall from grace for a man who once wielded the...
That's a down slap on the wrist for what he did.
That's it.
If he it's a slap on the damn wrist, like bad boy. That's all that was, bro.
Totally agree, my brother.
These officials, judges, again, they sentence people to a lot of time. And this man right here probably sentenced people. He probably gave out 1,000 years in his career in prison. Probably more than that. And he sexually assault and sexually abuse women. And he get 33 months. And they only do a fraction of that. They don't even do all of that. Only do a fraction of that. So it's like a slap on the wrist. It's not time. A official, someone who's involved in law enforcement jurisprudence, they should be punished more.
The gavel in a federal courtroom. Our next story brings us to Louisiana, where federal judge G. Thomas Porteous Jr. lived a double life of power and corruption. Behind his professional image, Porteous was accepting bribes, lying under oath, and engaging in fraudulent schemes with lawyers and bail bondsmen. In 2010, he became the 8th federal judge in U.S. history to be impeached by Congress. Removed from office, he faced criminal charges that exposed just how deeply corruption had rooted itself in his courtroom. Finally, we traveled to Ohio, where municipal court judge Abdel Yassin Ab Soiree's downfall was swift and devastating. In 2023, Soiree was caught in an FBI sting, accepting bribes from individuals who wanted favorable rulings in their cases. Recordings revealed conversations where he promised lighter sentences or case dismissals in exchange for cash. When the case went to trial, the evidence was undeniable. Soiree was sentenced to years in prison, ending his judicial career in disgrace. These cases serve as chilling reminders that corruption can thrive anywhere, even in the very institutions meant to protect justice. Each of these judges believed their position made them untouchable. But when the truth came to light, the gavel can fall on anyone.
Now we're going to go to so-called law enforcement, sticking consistent with the title, corrupt to the core.
12 days before trial, the cop who illegally arrested Taven Gallinakis, who then turned around and sued Taven for defamation for posting his body cam of his own arrest, just dropped his counterclaims with prejudice permanently. No money, no apology, no settlement. He just walked away. He did it the day after he filed his trial brief, swearing to a federal judge that he had probable cause to arrest Taven in the first place. One day. That's the gap between I was right and I quit. Hey, I'm America's attorney. I've been a lawyer for 25 years. I've helped over 12 million.
Video with a young man. He was unlawfully accosted to take a breathalyzer test. And the young man did it multiple times and he blew a 0. That means he had nothing to drink. But that cop arrested him anyway.
Million people. I've been covering this case for a year, and trust me, the dismissal is not even the biggest thing that's buried in these latest court filings. Taven's trial is now in 12 days. As you likely know, I'm headed to Des Moines to sit in on it, analyze it, and report back to you every day. And soon it'll all be over. But Taven's case isn't the only one out there. I've really enjoyed growing this audience of Americans who are sick of cops, who are bullies, who don't honor our rights. And really, I don't want it to end. Amazingly, about 85% of you who watch these videos are not subscribed to the channel. And I want to cut that number in half. I don't want you to lose track of our channel after Taven's trial is over. So please, pause the video and make sure that you're subscribed. It would mean a lot to me, like a lot. And of course, it's free, and it's just like a little button you press. Quick recap for anyone new. If you've watched the last 2 videos, you know this code. You can skip to about the 2-minute mark. August 28, 2022, just after midnight in Fig Newton, Iowa, Taven Gallinakis, college football player who just turned 19, gets pulled over by Officer Nathan Winters for having his brights on. Winters runs him through field sobriety tests, then a preliminary breath test, 0.00, not a trace of alcohol. Winters arrests him anyway, takes him to the station. Officer Andrew Schinkel, the certified drug recognition expert, runs a full evaluation. Conclusion? Not under the influence of any drug or controlled substance. Taven is released. No charges.
That's a crazy thing. Took the young man and inconvenienced him like that. Just to have, some paperwork on him. The young man had absolutely no alcohol in his system. Arrested him anyway.
Ever. He sues federal court, false arrest, 4th Amendment. The officers claim qualified immunity. The district court denies that. They appeal. The 8th Circuit, which is not exactly known as a plaintiff-friendly court on cop cases, affirms the denial in 2025. Translation: a federal appeals court looked at this stop and said, no reasonable officer could have thought that there was probable cause to arrest this kid. But there's a second lawsuit inside this lawsuit. Because while Taven was...
I don't understand how this cop thought that he could have qualified immunity when that is a clear-cut case of procedure. If he blows a 0.00, he has no alcohol in his system. So why are you arresting him? You can't say you're oblivious to that law. That law is cop. You can only get qualified immunity if something's not established. But that is an established law. The young man passed all the test, the sobriety test and the field test, which is stupid because most of them couldn't walk those lines like that.
Was suing Winters. Winters was suing him back, a counterclaim for defamation. And that is the lawsuit that Winters just walked away from. And why?
The cop tried to sue the plaintiff, the one he victimized, for defamation of character, for showing the video of him falsely arresting him. That's audacity. He need to walk away from the job. Force him to do it.
Well, let me show you. Here's the actual language from the filing. Plaintiff Taven Gallinakis and defendant Nathan Winters stipulate to the dismissal of Winters' pending counterclaims in this action with prejudice, each party to bear its own costs, expenses, and attorney's fees in connection with those counterclaims. Let me walk you through what every phrase.
The entire deal was done with prejudice. The cop prejudged the young man, which is the origin of the whole damn situation. The whole ordeal is with prejudice. If he wasn't prejudging that young man, trying to arrest him, trying to be a jailer, he wouldn't be going through all this. He should lose his job over it.
Phrase in that sentence means, because every phrase is doing work. With prejudice, okay, that's the kill shot. With prejudice means he cannot ever bring this claim again. Not in this court, not in any other court, not ever. The counterclaim is dead, dead, dead. Each party to bear its own costs. Taven pays nothing. Winters pays nothing. There is no settlement. There's no consideration moving in either direction. Nobody bought anybody off. Winters just stopped. And attorney's fees in connection with these counterclaims. Notice what's missing. There's no payment to Winters. There's no apology from Taven. There's no retraction. There's no statement that Taven agrees to take down the video. Nothing. Nada. This is what surrender looks like when it's written by a lawyer. It's short, it's clean, and it gives away everything. And look at when this was filed, May 13th, 2026. The day before that, Winters and his co-defendants filed their trial brief, their stipulated statement of the case, their proposed jury instructions, their proposed voir dire, everything you file when you're walking into a courtroom. All of it sworn to the court. All of it still claiming probable cause. 24 hours later, Winters quietly dropped the only affirmative claim that he had in the case. Well, why now? Why the day after he filed a trial brief telling the court that he had probable cause? Because his own counterclaim was going to destroy his probable cause defense in front of the jury. The counterclaim was a defamation claim. To win it, Winters would have to put himself on the stand and convince a jury that what Taven said about him was false. And that means his credibility, his character, his history would...
He would have looked stupid. He looked stupid still, but he would have looked dumber by, going into court and testifying, really testing his lie, test the lying. And they would have showed the video and they would have clearly seen him violate the young man's rights. So how would that be any type of defamation? They would have seen that what the young man said was true. So there would be no probable cause to believe that the young man defamed him. He defamed the job, unbecoming of an officer. He should be charged with that, unbecoming of an officer, violating departmental policies. That's what he should have been doing.
would all have been front and center. And what is in that history anyways? In his deposition, when Taven's lawyers asked him about prior allegations of domestic abuse, he pled the fifth. You can't.
Don't this document look familiar? This document looks like the Epstein files because this is how much they redacted on that file. They said, we're going to release it. But when they released it, this is how it looked. Just like this.
About prior allegations of domestic abuse, he pled the fifth. You cannot put a man who is your own self on the witness stand to defend his reputation when he has already refused to testify about it. And you cannot let a jury watch that exchange and then ask them to find that this same man had probable cause to arrest a sober teenager. The math became impossible. So the counterclaim, it had to go. And that's what the dismissal actually means. It's not a footnote. It's a confession that the credibility case around Nathan Winters was unwinnable. But here's the wild part. Winters dropped his counterclaim. He did not drop his defense. He's still going to trial. The city of Fig Newton is still going to trial. They are still going to stand in front of a jury 12 days from now and argue that they had probable cause to arrest Taven. So let's look at the evidence they're planning to put up. Their trial brief was filed by Brick Gentry, a firm that does not come cheap, paid for by the taxpayers of Fig Newton, Iowa, a population of about 15,000.
I tell you, some people will not relent in their stupidity. Go all the way with the stupid. Gonna go before a court after what I seen on that video. That young man was a college student, athlete on his way home from a friend's house. And they did the field sobriety test, and then they did the breathalyzer. He passed all of it. So they're going to show the video and try to convince somebody that he had probable cause to arrest that young man. They would not relent when it comes to being stupid.
By the way, their best case, in their own words, for why arresting this kid was reasonable. Officer Winters observed at least 3 air fresheners hanging from the rear view mirror and noted that Gallinakis had been chewing gum, both of which officers are trained to recognize as possible efforts to mask the odor of intoxication.
Well, they need to take that out of the probable cause. Air fresheners hanging from the rear view mirror and chewing gum. That's what he went on to use as probable cause to arrest somebody. Chewing gum and air fresheners. I have air fresheners in my car right now for trees. We keep the trees in our own cars. And I don't chew gum that much, but damn, chewing gum. That's the probable cause that he's using. I don't understand why someone in that police department is not advising him against that, because that's going to be embarrassing for the whole goddamn police department. I would actually fire him for that, for embarrassing my department by going through with it.
Intoxicants, 3 air fresheners, and chewing gum. They're putting that in writing in a federal trial brief. I mean, is it 2026? If you've ever been in a car driven by a 19-year-old athlete, you know they buy air fresheners by the bushel because their car smells like a gym bag and McDonald's bag had a baby. It's gross. And chewing gum? Well, I think about half of America chews gum. And the car registration issue, Gallinakis gave up. I don't know which one's the old one. I'll just give you both of them. Officer Winters, by contrast, instantly identified the current registration. Right. Okay. The trained officer who looks at registrations every shift identified the current registration faster than a 19-year-old college student at midnight. Stop the presses. I mean, look, his mom probably registered his car for him. He had just been a child. Quote, Gallinakis took 13 steps on the first pass without counting out loud, paused to ask Officer Winters to tell him when to turn, and took approximately 15 or 16 steps on the return pass. Their own expert testified
which is stupid because it's not like the young man is accustomed to doing a field sobriety test. So of course he's going to ask him when to turn, because it's not like the expert expect someone who hasn't. The young man's 19 years old, wasn't driving that long. For the most he's been driving is 3 years, because you can get a license at 16 years old in some states. The most he's been driving is 3 years, if that. and he's probably never been pulled over. So you can't expect someone to know what to do in a field sobriety test when you're supposed to know what to do. I think the field sobriety test is stupid. How they make you walk, they want you to stand on your 1 foot and all this other nonsense. That is stupid. Most of them, especially them big fat out of shape ass cops, when they ask somebody to do that, the person who they're asking to do it should say, okay, do it with me. And let's see if they big ass can do it.
He passed. And remember, at the end of all this, the breathalyzer says, it says 0. And the drug evaluator says he's not impaired. And another quote, Galanakis immediately misremembered them, saying Officer Winters told him to hold up his foot for 6 seconds when the instruction was to raise it for 6 inches off the ground. He mixed up inches and seconds. That's the evidence. That's what they wrote in their trial brief. A college kid at midnight in the rain on the side of the road in front of 2 armed officers mixed up inches and seconds. Now, to be fair, they also point out that Taven's eyes were watery and bloodshot. Well, Taven says he wears contacts. They challenge that. And in his deposition, Taven testified he's never smoked marijuana in his life, which the defense uses against him because when Officer Winters asked him on the body cam when he last smoked weed, Taven paused for 9 seconds. The defense's brief implies that's suspicious. Or it's a 19-year-old being asked out of nowhere a question by a cop at 1 a.m. and taking a beat to figure out how to answer. Look, reasonable minds may differ. That's literally what a jury is for. And here's the move that ties this segment to the last one. Look at the jury form Newton's lawyers want the jury to fill out. Quote, the defendants propose submitting special interrogatories to the jury for the purpose of determining discrete factual circumstances that may support a post-trial motion for qualified immunity. They want the jury to answer specific factual sub-questions so that even if the jury finds for Taven, they can come back after trial and take yet another swing at qualified immunity. This would be bite number 3 at the qualified immunity apple. Summary judgment was bite 1. 8th Circuit Court of Appeals was bite 2. The post-trial motion that they're already setting up, well, that's bite 3. Winters quit his counterclaim. The city won't quit anything. The case for probable cause is gum, air fresheners, and a confused 19-year-old in the rain in the middle of the night. So how is the city of Fig Newton going to defend the damages portion of this case? Here's their plan, straight out of the joint proposed pretrial order listing their proposed trial exhibits. The city of Fig Newton, Iowa, wants to introduce at trial to a jury Taven's GoFundMe campaign, his Facebook, his TikToks. And their theory is this. The defendants offer this evidence for the purpose of proving Galanakis suffered no damages, caused his own damages, and or for the purposes of challenging Mr. Galanakis' credibility. Translation?
Your Honor, we wrongfully arrested this kid. He got humiliated. People online were upset. He raised some money on GoFundMe. Other people made TikToks about him. Therefore, he has no damages.
Or it's his fault because he posted about it. The city of Fig Newton's position in a federal court filing is that if you wrongfully arrest someone and then that person tells other people about it on social media, you should not have to pay damages because they're the ones who made it go viral. They're conceding the arrest was newsworthy enough to go viral. They are conceding that people online were outraged. They're just hoping a jury blames Taven for being on the internet, and it's about to get gutted. Taven's trial brief already has the motion locked and loaded. The online comments they want to drag in, hearsay, unauthenticated, irrelevant. Their own trial brief admits they have no witnesses who can establish who wrote any of the comments. That means under Rule of Evidence 901, they can't get them in. Oh, the defense is going to try. They're going to lose. But the fact that that is their plan tells you everything you need to know about how this defense is being run. Both sides filed proposed voir dire questions. The questions a lawyer asked during jury selection tell you exactly who they're afraid of and who they want in that jury box. And these two lists could not be more different. Here's the defense. 20 questions. I'll read you just the ones that matter. Do you have strong positive or negative feelings about law enforcement? Have you participated in a protest of any kind? Do you have any training or education or experience in criminal justice or social science? Do you have any education after high school? Do you have any online or print subscriptions? Read between the lines. They want jurors who haven't protested anything, haven't studied criminal justice, didn't go to college, and don't subscribe to any publications. They're explicitly hunting for jurors who do not consume media.
Let's just ask the person, are you living off the grid? because, like, God damn, are you doing? They asking all these questions. They don't want them to be connected to nothing. Just ask: are you living off the grid?
Yeah, that might have covered this case or anything like it. On the other hand, look at Taven's proposed voir dire questions. One question stands out. Do you watch police interaction videos on any media platforms, i.e. YouTube, X, or Instagram? Oh, Taven, you're killing me, buddy. I'm right here. Taven's lawyers are literally going to ask jurors if they are subscribed to the channel. They're going to ask them if they watch police videos on YouTube, which, my friends, it's kind of what we're doing right now. Anyways, if you want to get kicked off the jury, you could subscribe now. They want those jurors. They want the jurors who've watched the body cam or watched 1,000 body cams, because they know that the moment those jurors see this stop in court, they're going to know what they're looking at. This is what every trial lawyer knows, but nobody says out loud. Voir dire is not about finding fair.
Yeah, they'll rather have people who are oblivious to the law than those who are aware, because they want to manipulate
Jurors.
them.
It's about finding your jurors. And the defense in this case is going to walk into that courtroom hoping to see 12 people who've never heard of Taven Gallinakis and who don't know what good police work is. Good luck. Here's where it stands. On May 15th, the lawyers for both sides walked into federal court in Des Moines for the final pretrial conference, and the judge started making rulings that could quietly shape this entire trial before a single witness ever takes a stand. The court partially granted, partially denied, and partially reserved ruling on Taven's motion in limine, the motion designed to keep certain evidence away from the jury. The trial follows shortly. Federal jury, Southern District of Iowa. I'll be there. Taven's asking the jury for actual damages for the 3 hours that he sat in custody as a 19-year-old college kid who hadn't done anything wrong, plus the emotional toll of fighting this case for almost 4 years now. And he's asking for punitive damages, the kind that a jury awards when they want to send a message about cops who arrest people that they know are not impaired. Remember, the cop said on the body cam he smelled alcohol.
This young man deserved punitive damages. In all actuality, my sentiment is he deserved whatever he asked for. Whatever he asked for his inconvenience, and having to fight this for 4 years, oh yeah, he should get paid.
He was lying. The defense is asking the jury to award $1, just nominal damages. They want the jury to find that even if Taven was wrongfully arrested, he just gets $1. $1. Here's the irony. Winters just gave up his own claim against Taven with prejudice for nothing. He valued his own defamation claim in writing at exactly $0. The defense is going to walk into that courtroom and ask a jury to value.
That's sarcasm and that's mockery to suggest that this young man only deserves to get $1 for all he went through. That young man deserves punitive damages, and a message should be sent to cops who violate people's laws. He should also, on top of all this, lose his job. He should not be on the police department.
Value Taven's claim, false arrest, no probable cause, 8th Circuit confirmed, at $1 more than that. That number is offensive to me, and my guess is it's offensive to you. This case matters far beyond one late-night traffic stop in Fig Newton, because strip away the personalities, the YouTube clips, the headlines, even the online drama. What you're left with is a question every driver in America should care about. If police pull you over, you cooperate, you perform the tests, you blow 000, can they still arrest you anyway? According to the United States Court of Appeals for the 8th Circuit, a jury could reasonably find there wasn't even arguable probable cause for Taven's arrest. To which I say, no der. That's why qualified immunity is gone. That's why this case survived. And now, for the first time, 12 jurors, not judges, not lawyers, not cops, not even people like me on YouTube, are going to decide where the line really is between an officer making a difficult roadside judgment and an officer crossing a constitutional line. What are your thoughts on Winters' dismissal of his own claims? Do you think he now has a better or worse shot at victory in trial? Do me a favor, drop your pro se opinion down below in the comments. And my goodness, check out the rest of my channel for breakdowns on this case.
Gonna move on to the next video. It's crazy. It gets crazier with the corruption of America's jurisprudence.
You know better. you were better trained than any of those officers out there.
We're going to go to judges who destroyed corrupt cops in court. Something that we should see more often.
The former Inkster cop locked up for 13 months to 10 years for this violent beating of motorist Floyd Dent.
I am truly sorry that you believe my actions were unjust. Please have faith.
No accountability. I'm so sorry that you believe that my actions were unjust. Not, I'm sorry for what I did. I'm sorry that you believe my actions are unjust. And saying this after the people viewed a video of him beating the motorist.
And your law enforcement officers. For many of them would risk their life for yours.
Police officers are not above the law, and they're charged and face the court's judgment whenever they go astray. Going through these cases where corrupt cops were instantly owned in courtrooms.
Therefore, it is the intention of the court that you are sentenced to serve a total of 12 years, 6 months, and 8 days in the Florida Department of Corrections.
On February 15th, 2018, 52-year-old Teresa Odom was stopped by former Deputy Zach Wester for defective taillights in her worn-out Nissan pickup truck.
This is the man who were planting drugs on people, the cop who were planting drugs on people. He planted a lot of drugs on a lot of motorists because he had aspirations of being in narcotics. So he was stealing drugs out of evidence and planting on motorists.
Truck. What should have been a simple warning or a fix-it ticket turned into one of the most shocking civil rights violations in recent history.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Should I turn in here to get off?
You're fine. You're fine. Deputy Westwood Jackson County Sheriff's Office. Reason for my stop is your brake lights.
Yes, sir.
They work 1 minute, and the next minute they don't work, and then a few seconds later they just flash. Okay, so
it's probably because of the rain.
Okay, that's fine. You got your driver's license on you, ma'am?
I just got tickets the other day. I'll be glad to show them
did
to you.
No.
This guy's a total piece of shit. I don't think he got enough time for what he's done to several people. Stopping this woman because of her brake lights that they'll work 1 minute and then another minute they won't work and then they're just flashing. I'd have been like, you know what? You get in my car and press my brakes. I want to see this.
No, you're fine. All right, thank you. I'll be right back.
My truck may or may not start. When I turn it off, you may have to push me off, so I'm going to go ahead and tell you.
Okay. Do you need to turn it off? Do you have to turn it off?
It'd probably be better.
Okay.
I'm on a hard time with it as it is.
Okay, I'll tell you what.
Can I answer my phone?
Yeah. You can answer your phone. That right there.
What is what? This?
That straw right there.
This is no straw. It's an ink pen.
Oh, okay.
It's an ink pen.
It was connected. It looked like it was
No
connected
straw.
to that arc. Just
Hey,
hang
I just
tight,
got
okay?
pulled over that.
Anything the vehicle need to be concerned about? Bombs, hand grenades,
Drugs?
rocket launchers. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Here's what I do probably 10 or 15 times a
You got to watch those cops who do the joking and the small talk. You have to watch them. When they do the joking and the small talk, you have to watch those type of cops because they're planning something. That's to soften you up and get you to talking with them, trying to jam you up. You got to watch them kind.
the shift, okay? There's going to be a K9 coming in a minute, and she's going to walk around the car, okay? But instead of doing that, would you consent to a search of your vehicle? You're fine with that? Okay. All right, you mind stepping out and just hanging out with this deputy right back here?
No, I don't. I'm scared of being in this traffic.
No, Deputy Hayke will take care of you.
Notice how the officer got her to give consent for a search. These
never give the police a consent to search your vehicle. Under no circumstance do you do that. I don't care how clean your vehicle is. Know that they are not above planting something in your damn car. That's stupid.
These predators are highly efficient in what they do. They use their charm as a tool to disarm their victims. This is why you shouldn't voluntarily give consent for a search when you don't have to. But unfortunately for Teresa, it was too late.
All right, Deputy Hayke, make sure you don't get run over, okay? Because I have faith that he would prefer to get over. All right, just hang tight, myself.
Just as fast as you get consent, you can take away that consent also. Just know that. He can be halfway in the car. You can say, never mind, I don't submit to no search. And they have to stop by law. If they don't, they're violating your rights.
Do what now? All right, I'll see if I can find it for you. Here's $5 in your wallet.
Where the hell did you find it?
In your wallet?
Where in my... Oh, no.
That's something different there.
No, that's the bad check.
Oh. Yeah, there he is.
That's evil. Victimizing this woman, planting drugs in her car. But she allowed it. She victimized herself by allowing him to search her vehicle. She should have said no.
We've got good accident insurance if something happens. Oh. Miss Odom.
It is yogurt, sir.
I know. Okay.
It's yogurt.
How about this, though?
That is not mine. No, sir.
Okay. I'm not going to ask you any
No,
direct,
sir.
I'm not going to ask you any direct questions. I'm going to read you your rights first, okay? So just hang out with Deputy Hayke here.
What is it?
I have an idea. We're going to test it, though, okay?
The officer magically found a substance that he claimed he didn't know what it was. Just watch how he puts on a whole show.
I don't know.
Oh, no, Teresa, you're going to jail.
Yep.
All right. Let me go. Bye. Did you give consent?
Yeah. Oh. Her brake lights when I was behind her, the driver's side would work and the passenger side wasn't working, and then it would start working again. So.
People taking these jobs when it requires you're supposed to like people and you're supposed to be of service to people, but this is who they hire. Someone who will plant drugs on motorists and ruin people's lives. This man did this to about 8 people, but he got his just due when he did several years, when he got decades in prison for what he did.
Yeah, there it goes.
Yep. Yeah. Thank you, Jess. No, do you have anything on you, Miss Odom?
I said I didn't have anything on me in the truck.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. But do you have anything on your person? Is what
I
I'm
have
asking.
nothing on me to my knowledge
Okay.
at
Thank
all.
you. We're good. Okay. All right.
And I'm not trying to be ugly.
It did return presumptive positive for methamphetamine. Okay. I'm just letting you know. Okay.
The officer tested all of it, knowing all too well what was inside the pack that he had planted. The deceit and lies these corrupt cops do are horrendous. He should be locked up in jail because of the lying itself while on duty. What a terrible human being.
All right, the deputy asked if he could search my truck. I told him, yes, he may search my truck. I'm sitting on the bumper right now. He goes in my passenger side. He sees, I don't know, God knows what. He goes around to the other side with the truck door on open. And he comes back with a spoon, which is what I use. And with the spoon, there's laying a little bitty.
You can judge some of these people by or with your own righteousness or striving to be righteous. You can't judge these people like that because you see that uniform. See, now automatically I wouldn't trust the person in the uniform because of how tainted it is and how wicked and corrupt these people are. I'll never trust that uniform. So they can walk up with their chest poked out in the uniform all they want. I'll be like, I don't rock with that. I don't trust you automatically because you have it on, because it's so tainted and corrupt. She should have told him, hell no. But he figured, well, I know nothing in my car, so go ahead and search it. But that's not, you should never do that anyway, because they will plant something on you.
Like, I guess a little time.
Hey, brother Nasir, real quick. You know, I think even if she doesn't allow him to search, when they call a dog, she's going to try to plant anything he can. So she's kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place there. But I definitely agree. You never allow them to search your truck. But, you know, if you don't, they're going to call the dogs. They're going to call backup. And they're going to eventually still plant it. So you damned if you do, you damned if you don't. You get me? Did you hear what I said, brother Nasir?
Yeah, I agree. You know, they also train those dogs to be deceptive. They probably had the dog signal when they walk around, signal that something in the vehicle. Then that would have justified, gave them justification to go in the vehicle anyway. You know,
Yes, sir.
yeah,
That's all I was saying. Yes, sir.
yeah, I agree. I agree.
I'm gonna have to tow it, okay, since it's a narcotics felony arrest, okay?
Once you get my purse and stuff.
Yeah, I've got your purse here. Whenever you get it to the jail, if you want to sign a release to your daughter, that's fine. You just want to put your phone and your sunglasses in your purse here. We'll make sure all this gets to the jail.
You can't tell me this is not evil. Somebody doing this. This is evil. Just violating this woman's rights and victimizing her and taking her to jail, planting drugs on her.
You want me to put it in the car for you, so? Okay. Well,
and she don't look like she has a lot of money. Then it's going to be a financial burden on her because he's towing her vehicle. Got to get out of jail and then have to get her vehicle out of impound. This is evil.
I mean, it's going to be secured in Branning's yard. I mean, that's no problem. All right. Come right back here, all right? And I'll make sure you don't get ran over.
This is not the only occasion that
the nice officer act. That's the part that's angering me because he's acting like he's so nice when he's victimizing this lady. He's showing so much mannerism why he's doing this to this lady. And she fell for it with the small talk and all that. You never fall for that small talk and that joking. You don't fall for that shit. Because they're trying to jam you up. Automatically, you just know and think that they're trying to jam you up. That's what they do.
That Deputy Zachary Wester has planted fake evidence. He was sentenced to 12 and a half years in state prison in connection with 19 guilty verdicts handed down to him. They range from felonies such as racketeering.
19 guilty verdicts, and he only gets 12 and a half years. Well, he's supposed to get life in prison, but they gave some leniency on him. He was facing life, and he should have gotten life. He should have at least gotten 30 years for what he did. 30 years to life. He should have gotten 19 guilty pleas, not pleas, guilty verdicts.
Official misconduct, fabricating evidence, and false imprisonment to misdemeanor.
Racketeering. That's RICO. That's a RICO charge. Organized crime. That's what he was involved in. Organized crime. He only got 12 and a half years as a police officer involved in a RICO charge.
Misdemeanors such as possession of controlled substances and drug paraphernalia.
And then stealing evidence, stealing drugs out of evidence and planting them on people. He's supposed to get 12 and a half years for that alone. Taking drugs out of the evidence room and planting it on people. Crazy.
And perjury. Finally, the jury reached a verdict, and it was announced.
Count 1, guilty of racketeering as charged. Count 41, guilty of possession of controlled substance related to February 15, 2018 as charged. Count 65, guilty of false imprisonment related to Stephen Van as charged. Count 66, not guilty. Count 67, not guilty.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for your time and consideration of this case. I also wish to advise you of some very special privileges enjoyed by jurors. No juror can ever be required to talk about the discussions that occurred in your jury room.
The verdict was read, as all the 67 charges were read individually, and Zachary was found guilty of 19 of them, including racketeering, official misconduct, and possession of controlled substances. In a final hearing, the judge announced his sentence.
All right, Mr. Wester, this court now sentences you as follows in this case. As to count 1, racketeering, which is a first-degree felony, you are sentenced to serve 5 years in the Florida Department of Corrections. As to count 7, official misconduct, as a third-degree felony, you are sentenced to serve 18 months in the Florida Department of Corrections. As to count 65, false imprisonment, as a third-degree felony, you are sentenced to serve 1 year and 1 day in the Florida Department of Corrections, consecutive to count 64. Counts 7, 9, 10, 31, 33, 34, 41, 44, 48, 64, and 65 are to be served consecutive to each other for a total sentence in this case of 12 years, 6 months, and 8 days in the Florida Department of Corrections. This sentence of 12 years, 6 months, and 8 days in the Florida Department of Corrections is to run concurrent with a 5-year Department of Corrections sentence in count 1. Therefore, it is the intention of the court that you are sentenced to serve a total of 12 years, 6 months, and 8 days in the Florida Department of Corrections.
The corrupt deputy was rightfully sentenced to 12 and a half years in prison. Well, this officer was definitely corrupt, but the actions of this next cop were so hideous, he was given the ultimate sentence.
The court commits you to the custody of the...
Everybody knows who this wicked, I don't know what to call him. I don't know what to call him. Everybody knows who this guy is. Derek Chauvin.
The Commissioner of Corrections for a period of 270 months.
The tragic death of George Floyd at the hands of Officer Derek Chauvin on May the 25th, 2020, sparked a worldwide movement calling for justice and police reform. Chauvin was charged and eventually convicted of second-degree unintentional murder, third-degree murder, and second-degree manslaughter.
I don't understand how they can say unintentional. That's the crazy part. Unintentional.
I wanted to thank everybody for being here and for providing the input you did. Not just the people who were in the courtroom here, but also those who provided written statements, both from the Floyd family and the defendant's family. I've read all the impact statements that were submitted earlier and listened carefully to all the input here today. And it is truly appreciated that you took the time to stay with this case and to provide me with input. I have reviewed the pre-sentence investigation and carefully considered all the facts of the case and the law, but my comments are actually going to be very brief. I have a 22-page memorandum that is going to be attached to the sentencing order. And why am I doing it in writing? To emphasize the fact that determining the appropriate sentence in any case, and in this case, is a legal analysis. It's applying the rule of law to the facts of an individual and specific case. And that is why, as opposed to trying to being profound here on the record, I prefer that you read the legal analysis that explains how I determine the sentence in this case.
Derek stood still and refused to show any emotions that would display guilt and remorse. The abusive police officer knew he was about to face a long sentence.
What the case is, or what the sentence is not based on, is emotion or sympathy. But at the same time, I want to acknowledge the deep and tremendous pain that all the families are feeling, especially the Floyd family. You have our sympathies. I'm not basing my sentence also on public opinion. I'm not basing it on any attempt to send any messages.
The judge made it abundantly clear that the sentence.
Why not base your sentence on sending a message? You should be sending a clear message. You send message to everybody else, but why can't you send messages to the police departments that this type of behavior will not be tolerated? He should be sending messages, because if there was a civilian sitting before him, he'd be sending a message.
Sentence would not be based on public uproar and emotions, but would be decided strictly according to the law. That's when he announced the sentence.
Mr. Chauvin, as to count one, based on the verdict of the jury, finding you guilty of unintentional second-degree murder while committing a felony under Minnesota Statute 609.19 subdivision 2 paren 1, it is the judgment of the court that you now stand convicted of that offense. Pursuant to Minnesota Statute section 609.04, counts 2 and 3 will remain unadjudicated as they are lesser offenses of count 1. As sentenced for count 1, the court commits you to the custody of the Commissioner of Corrections for a period of 270 months. That's 270. That is a 10-year addition to the presumptive sentence of 150 months. This is based on your abuse of a position of trust and authority, and also the particular cruelty shown to George Floyd. You're granted credit for 199 days already served. Pay the mandatory surcharge of $78 to be paid from prison wages. You're prohibited from possessing firearms, ammunition, or explosives for the remainder of your life. Provide a DNA sample as required by law. Register as a predatory offender as required by law. And then you will receive a copy of the order and also the attached memorandum explaining the court's analysis.
If this needs to be said, we just ask that it be executed forthwith.
Defendant is remanded to the custody of the sheriff to be transported back to the DOC or whichever custody is currently holding him. Anything from the defense? No, All right. Thank you. We are adjourned.
22 and a half years in prison. That's what you get for strangling and murdering a poor victim. Chauvin was then sent to the Oaks Park Heights prison. Next, we have a...
I don't think that's enough time, 22 and a half years, for putting your knee on a man's neck for 10 damn minutes, and he's begging and pleading, saying he can't breathe, and you are just grinding your knee, you pushing it down. You got your hand in your pocket, and you pushing your knee down on the man's neck. I don't think 22 and a half years is enough. He should have gotten life in prison for that.
Crazy instance where an officer couldn't control his emotions in court.
Hold on, man.
During a court hearing,
and he did that right in front of the judge. Like, he could do that in front of the judge and get away with it. Just did that right in front of the judge.
In December 2012, the judge sentenced the defendant on assault charges. At this time, he tried to talk to the judge, but a police officer standing nearby did something shocking to retaliate.
Investigation for false imprisonment, assault in the third degree, assault as a class 2 felony, and a misdemeanor charge as well in possession of drug paraphernalia.
I'd like to object first. If I'm on investigation, I thought the investigation came first and then the rest came.
Hold on, man.
Get on your feet. You don't turn on me. Get on your feet. Get on your feet.
Deputy Brady Lovingier assaulted him and pushed him to the ground. The suspect suffered several injuries and was taken to the hospital. On the other hand,
he's a coward because he wouldn't have done that if the man's hands was free. He's a coward. And all this was uncalled for.
Deputy Brady was suspended from his job and later resigned. This wasn't the end, as a federal jury awarded $50,000 to the suspect. Like in this case, this next cop was also given a severe punishment for his transgressions.
You betrayed your city. You caused your lovely wife heartache.
On January 28, 2015, a 58-year-old man...
This guy wanted leniency, talking about his children and all that. What about this person's children? They always talk about their families when they get in trouble and don't show no concern to and consider nobody else's family.
A man by the name of Floyd Dent was driving around when he was stopped by Officer Melendez for a minor traffic offense. However, the actions that Melendez chose to take from there ended with him being punished.
He was stopped by the defendant, a then Inkster police officer, and his partner, Officer Zelenowski. Mr. Dent was stopped for a minor traffic offense and ordered out his vehicle. With his hands extended out of his driver's window, he was grabbed out, thrown to the ground, and struck 16 times in the head by the defendant.
These types of scum are what defame our police force. They exercise their force illegally on the very people they're supposed to protect and then act a victim. Pathetic.
The responding police officers arrived as the defendant is wrestling the defendant to the ground. Mr. Dent was struck, kicked, and tased while on the ground by what appeared to be a group of angry, anxious police officers that celebrated after the defendant was beaten and cuffed.
I don't get how such police officers even live with themselves. These cops are indicative of deep-rooted problems in our police force that need to be handled immediately and by force.
But the one image that struck out.
I think when cops behave like this, it should be the death penalty. They all should get the death penalty when they behave like this, violating the trust and just senseless beating people up and killing people. Death penalty. That's a message that should be sent. The death penalty. And not no sanitary put you to sleep and you never wake up. No. Firing squad.
Out to the court was looking at Mr. Dent in his cell, shaking his head in disbelief of what had occurred to him. If his conduct was indicative of what he was thinking, I would have thought this. What crime did I commit? Being a black man in a Cadillac, stopped for a minor traffic offense by a group of racist police officers looking to do it.
Well, Melendez is one of the stupidest officers I've ever seen. How do you commit such an act on camera and expect to get away with it? He's done himself for life. He'll never be seen the same way again.
The purpose of it was to harass and degrade a motorist in Inkster. The man chosen for your game was Floyd Dent, a black man. The game went like this. Let's follow a car in a known drug area, and based on your years of training experience, you knew that the motorist would likely be a black person. No license, armed with a gun or drugs in a vehicle. Took me several days to read the letters that people sent talking about your character, about the man that you are, about how you went in Westland and helped to save 3 senior citizens from a burning building. 3 of those letters, I believe, were from African Americans, and 1 even professed to be like a mother. 1 or 2 things, either they're all racist or there's something redeeming about you that somehow in some way you forgot that night.
The age-old trick of the fake letters. Does Melendez take this judge for a fool? He's just digging himself into a hole here, and I'm loving it.
At the station, the other eye of justice captured you and your posse making fun of Mr. Dent, mimicking him struggling while you all wiped the blood off your uniforms with disinfectant while he watched. Such an awesome, caring, properly trained police officer. You led your fellow officers down a path of cowardly behavior. You betrayed your city. You caused your lovely wife heartache. And you caused Mr. Dent severe anguish.
Tell him to make fun of Mr. Dent now. I bet he doesn't have the guts anymore, seeing as to how big of a pickle he's gotten himself into.
Today, I can only punish your conduct, but only you and God can change your character. I've had an opportunity.
I was wearing that robe. I will be God. If he believed in God, I was about to show him the wrath of God. He would feel the wrath of God. I'll put his ass under the jail.
Opportunity to listen to both sides. And I had to say this because I didn't say this during the trial. But it was my privilege to be able to oversee this trial because I had great lawyers.
Look at his face. This man isn't guilty and emotionless because he feels bad for what he did to Mr. Dent. He just feels bad because he happened to get caught in the act.
I am going to commit you to the Michigan Department of Corrections. However, after weighing the allegations in this particular matter and looking at all the circumstances, including what you've done and who the person I really believe that you are, I'm going to commit you to the Michigan Department of Corrections as to count 1 for no less than 13 months, no more than 10 years. As to count 2, I'm going to give you 90 days credit for time served and close it out. The court's going to give you 85 days for credit. You have 42 days to appeal my decision. That concludes this matter. Thank you.
He should be glad he only got this much time. He deserves to be put behind bars for a long time.
I am truly sorry that you believe my actions were unjust. Please have faith in your law enforcement officer.
You see how he's sounding. I'm truly sorry that you believe my actions were unjust. After the jury and the judge watched the video of him beating a man, he's still not going to hold himself accountable. There's no accountability. Now, after hearing this, if I was the judge, I would exercise some power and resentence him. So, you know, I need to give you a little more time because you don't think you did anything wrong. I'm about to show you how wrong you are.
And my brother Nasir, real
For
quick,
many of them would risk their life.
real quick, brother.
Yes, sir.
Normally, they want you to admit you did wrong, so that way you know you show sympathy, and that's how they normally judge you. But they don't do that with the cops. They don't expect them to show no sympathy. But when you do a crime in their court system, they expect you to, show remorse is the word. But
Exactly.
these cops do not show any remorse
They don't
when
care.
they do something, but they expect the civilians to show remorse when we do something wrong. You get it? You get me?
I get you. I get you. And it's crazy, especially when you see what he's done. This what makes it worse. You can see a video of him repeatedly punching the man, kicking the man, tasing the man. He say, I'm sorry that you think that my actions were unjust. You know, that sounds ridiculous. I will give him more time just for saying that. And
that's what they normally do. Excuse me, good brother. Go ahead.
And I think I think it's the racial overtone also because he's standing before a black judge. I think that's a part of it too. But if you look at his name, you see his name, right? William Melendez. This means that he's Hispanic. I tell you, these people come over here to become white. And I guarantee you on his what they call it again, bro? On his census. I guarantee he put white. I guarantee this dude put white.
Oh, on his status, yes, sir.
His status on the census. I guarantee he put white.
For yours.
Melendez even went as far as to claim that he suffered from PTSD. But honestly, I don't buy it, and neither did the judge. So Melendez's plea was not entertained.
PTSD. Suffering from PTSD. You beat the man and you're suffering from PTSD. That is mockery. For all the soldiers who suffer from PTSD because of what they went through going to, hell, which is war, and suffering through PTSD, this dude says he suffered from it after beating someone.
And that's a fact, brother Nasir, because I'm a disabled vet. I suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder. It normally comes when something traumatic happens to you, not when you do something traumatic to other people. You got me?
Yeah. Yeah. That's crazy. He suffered from PTSD after beating somebody.
Melendez apologized to Dent, the community, and his family shortly before he was sentenced Tuesday to 13 months to 10 years in prison. Like in this case, with Officer Melendez being sentenced for his wrongdoings, this next officer also failed to get away with his crimes as his case came before a righteous and no-nonsense judge.
Cameron Lamb is dead. Eric DeValconaire killed him.
On December the 3rd, 2019, Eric DeValconaire was alerted to a crime committed by Cameron Lamb. However, once he arrived at Cameron's property, everything seemed to go horribly wrong, and he landed himself in court for his actions.
And the parties have a right to expect that no matter what I hear, I will only consider factors that are appropriate and that I will disregard those that are inappropriate. And that is what I've done here. And as a result, I've concluded as follows. There are a number of facts in this case that are both aggravating and mitigating, sometimes all at the same time. First and foremost is this undeniable and uncontested fact. Cameron Lamb is dead, and Eric DeValconaire killed him. That's undisputed.
I really like this judge. He's getting straight to the facts. No BS, no irrelevant information at all. This is how all judges should be.
Cameron Lamb's death leaves an irreparable and unfillable void in the lives of his family and his friends, and also in our community. Also, as I'm weighing all these facts, it can't be overlooked that the events of December 3rd of 2019 were initially set into motion by Cameron Lamb and his decision to chase his girlfriend through city streets at dangerously high speeds, putting both at risk.
I love the judge's objectivity. No bias. Not that I can say that about many judges that I get to see on this channel.
Pulling up to defendant's house, Sergeant Schwam pulling into the driveway, immediately getting out with his weapon drawn, rapidly moving into the backyard, carport, garage area of the house, and defendant doing the same. Both without taking a breath, without pausing for the briefest of moments to consider where they were going, what they would find when they got back there, whether they were acting lawfully in doing so, and whether there might be some other safer option, without so much as a, "Hey, Troy, wait."
These cops never think in the moment. They always end up regretting it when they end up in front of a judge. Sad truth is, their actions can't be taken back, and their victims can't be brought back either.
Eric DeValconaire is not Derek Chauvin, who murdered George Floyd. Eric DeValconaire is not one of the 3 men in Georgia convicted of running down and murdering Ahmaud Arbery. This is a mitigating factor. Defendant has no prior criminal history. His ORAS scores him as a low risk in all categories. Defendant's history as a police officer, husband and father, friend and colleague is also a mitigating factor that I have taken into account, as his father asked me to do, which I was already going to do, and that is to consider the totality of the circumstances and to consider the totality of the defendant's life.
This is how a professional judge is. Completely objective, takes all factors into account, and doesn't let emotion sway him. If we had more people like him in our judicial system, I'm sure it would be a lot better than it is right now.
The facts and the circumstances in the history of
I don't necessarily agree with that. You know, if we had more judges like him, because he could be doing this, taking all this into consideration, all because he's a cop. Would he be doing this if this was a civilian sitting before him? I think not.
Of defendant's career and his life that have been presented to this court have demonstrated he has not hesitated to immediately take action when he believed the circumstances surrounding him warranted it. And this trait has generally served him and others well. It also failed him, as it did on December 3rd of 2019. All of which, however, leads the court back to where it began, an evaluation of the impact of the defendant's crime on Cameron Lamb and his family. Cameron Lamb is dead. Eric DeValconaire killed him. Having concluded, as I have, having considered all those factors, I ask counsel if there's any legal reason or cause having been shown why sentence and judgment of the court should not now be pronounced.
Time from the state.
No, sir.
Eric DeValconaire on count 1, the Class E felony of involuntary manslaughter in the 2nd degree. I sentence you to a term of incarceration in the Missouri Division of Adult Institutions of 3 years. On the unclassified felony of armed criminal action, I sentence you to a term of incarceration of 6 years in the Missouri Department of Corrections.
DeValconaire was convicted of manslaughter and armed criminal action in the 2019 killing of Cameron Lamb and was sentenced to 6 years in prison. Well, there you have it. A showcase of dirty cops getting absolutely owned in the courtroom as a lesson for all cops out there who think they can get away with crimes just because.
I can't end the stream without going to the executive branch of corruption in United States jurisprudence. Now,
out of this, the IRS permanently barred.
Now, the IRS is permanently barred from taking action against President Trump over old tax returns. And this order was given down from the Department of Justice, which Donald Trump runs. You see the conflict of interest. Donald Trump also wanted to sue. He wanted to sue the Department of Justice for $10 billion on behalf of the insurrectionists. And the Department of Justice is being ran by him. So can you imagine the conflict of interest that is? He's going to sue an agency that he's in charge of, that he runs. So the agency will rule on his behalf, and that's $10 billion that he gets from an agency that he went. So, what's good about that is the judge seeing that, caught it, and was like, no, you can't do that. You can't be the victim. You can't be the plaintiff and the defendant at the same time. You can't. Because you run the Department of Justice. That's why I don't like politicians or politics, because they're all crooked, they're all corrupt, and no man should be able to be in charge of all these agencies, determine who's in charge of the FBI. He's appointing who's in charge of the FBI, Department of Justice, and all these different federal agencies. He put the people in charge, even to the military. That's the craziest part. You telling me the president of the United States can get in office and fire a 32-year veteran general because he wants someone who's going to be his puppet? And if you're not his puppet, you're not a bobblehead for him, he's going to put somebody else in your place when you are the one who served in the military for all those years, rising up the rank and file to be fired as soon as he get in the office. The highest ranking officer in the National Guard was a sister. She just got the job. As soon as Donald Trump got in office, he fired her. The highest ranking military general in the United States was a brother. As soon as Donald Trump got in office, he fired him also. Because he don't want no, rank and file or prestigious so-called Negroes around him. Because that's too much success. That's too much success of one of us. He don't want to see that. A successful brother or sister around him. He want peons and bobbleheads and yes men around him. And that's what we have all around him. Peons and yes men. But the IRS is barred from probing claims against Trump, his company, or sons after DOJ settlement. They barred from taking action against Trump over old tax returns, meaning that Donald Trump haven't paid taxes in years and he don't want them probing into it.
Barred from I should say, permanently barred from pursuing any claims against President Trump, his family, or businesses based on past tax returns. What I just laid out was an addendum to Trump's settlement with the agency. As we told you yesterday, the Justice Department is also creating a nearly $1.8 billion fund.
I guarantee you, when a camera and a mic is not in front of this dude, he do not talk like this. This dude is sweet as a damn bake sale.
The people who claim they were unfairly targeted by the Justice Department during the Biden administration. The move has drawn widespread criticism from Democrats who worry some Capitol rioters could file for relief. Vice President J.D. Vance was asked about this yesterday.
We do have people who were accused of attacking law enforcement officers. That doesn't mean that we're going to completely ignore.
This is a liar also. A police officer died as a result of the insurrectionists on January 6, 2021. A police officer died as a result of that. That police officer was from South River, New Jersey, but he became an officer down in D.C. That's like one city in between where I'm at in South River. That police officer was from there. A police officer died. Some were injured. And that, the reason I fought them also, the cops, because the cops should have did what they would have done to us, to them. The only cop that had fortitude to do what he was supposed to do was the brother cop who shot the woman. I would have shot her too. If you're breaching security of the Capitol building and I'm security, yes, I'm stopping you. I am stopping you. Because it would have been a massacre if it was 1,000 of us trying to do that. It would have been a massacre. They'd have shot us off that wall.
Ignore some of the claims that they're going to make. We're going to evaluate these things on a case-by-case basis.
Joey Garrison joins us now from Washington. He's a White House correspondent for USA Today. Good morning, Joey. Glad to have you with us. Let me get your reaction first to this addition to Mr. Trump's IRS settlement. The agency barred from looking into the tax returns of he and his relatives going backwards. What do we make of that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a remarkable addition to this settlement that wasn't originally announced. It was added in a one-page addendum, as you mentioned, and it essentially gives President Trump, his family, his sons immunity from future IRS audits, investigations, inquiries. Of course, the Trump family has had years of scrutiny from the IRS, so to get this kind of blanket immunity is quite extraordinary. Now, there are questions from tax experts whether this kind of agreement is even legal. And then you have to wonder, in a future Democratic administration, will this sort of agreement be upheld? But again, it is in addition to this, quote, anti-weaponization fund that is going to be comprised of $1.8 billion that will distribute money to people who believe they were done wrong, essentially, by past Democratic presidents from the DOJ of those administrations. So Democrats, of course, are incensed by both of these agreements that are part of the IRS settlement between the DOJ and Trump. And, you've seen, as you saw the clip of J.D. Vance there, he has defended it, as well as Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche, and then the president.
Right. And the real fear and concern is that this could...
We are at the apex of corruption and lawlessness. These people don't even care that we know that what they're doing is illegal. They don't even care that we see it. And they'll get up here and they'll stand and justify it, knowing that we know everything they're doing is illegal. They don't even care. And they want to talk about law and order.
Lead to corruption. Todd Blanche, you just mentioned, was Mr. Trump's private attorney and helped defend him during many of his criminal trials. He's now the acting attorney general, and he was grilled yesterday on Capitol Hill.
Donald Trump's personal attorney was made the acting attorney general. So, of course, the Department of Justice is going to... That's another thing he did illegal. The DOJ, the Department of Justice that he runs, made this ruling in his favor. That's corruption. Outright corruption and a conflict of interest. It should be somebody... He shouldn't be appointing these people because there shouldn't be no biases. There's going to be biases if you got somebody like Donald Trump appointing people. It's going to be biases. That's crazy. These people actually should be elected too. They should be elected. Therefore, if they're elected, they won't be subservient and adhering to Donald Trump. Donald Trump can't fire someone who's been elected. That's how it should be.
Specifically on the point of this anti-weaponization fund, let's just listen to some of that.
Has it ever happened that a sitting president sued his own government for $10 billion and then directed the settlement of the case and the establishment of a payout fund?
Not that I'm aware, but there's a lot of things that President Trump's the first of. No president had been indicted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times either.
Correct. No president's been indicted. And will you commit that none of this money will go to President Trump's campaign?
No president's been convicted of 34 counts felonies also. And then, as a matter of fact, no one was able to run for president, because if I had 34 felonies, I probably wouldn't be able to have the job that I have. You can't even be a damn security guard with 34 felonies. But this guy was able to run for president after being convicted 34 times. And what he was convicted of was national security. And he still was able to run. He should have been disqualified from running for president. So this is why I don't respect America's jurisprudence, because when he went to get sentenced for his crimes, the judge postponed his sentence for 4 years. Postponed his sentence for 4 years. I can't respect judges. I can't respect none of these people.
Paying donors?
I am not committing to anything beyond the settlement agreement itself.
Joey, did you learn anything new? Did we all learn anything new about how this compensation fund will really function?
Yeah, I mean, essentially, it's going to be a 5-person committee that decides how this money is doled out. But those 5 members are all appointed by Todd Blanche. So you saw Democrats making the point that essentially this is a Trump administration panel that will decide this money. And you saw them ask Blanche, and later Vance was asked, can you rule out January 6th defendants who were convicted of assaulting police officers? Can you rule them out for receiving money? And none of them did. I mean, I think it's based on remarks that you heard from the president. I think it's fair to assume that January 6th defendants will very much be in line to receive this money. Of course, they were pardoned by President Trump on his first day of office. And then others who were pardoned by the president, wealthy, well-connected people who.
Donald Trump wants to give them reparations for what they went through after they were indicted, tried, and convicted for engaging in an insurrection on the Capitol in Washington, D.C. Donald Trump wants to pay them. He wants to give them reparations for that. But $10 billion. There's no study, like they say, when it comes to reparations for crimes against humanity. When it comes to us, it's always they have to study. But when it comes to other people, they always have a round figure of how much money they're gonna allocate to other people. They send billions of dollars to Ukraine, billions of dollars to Israel to help these people out, to maintain them. But when it comes to us, it's always a study. We got to study. We got to figure. No, there's no study. Come up with a round figure like you do with everybody else.
That's facts, good brother. That's facts.
Time out for their nonsense. They even rebuild countries they go and destroy, bro, and give them reparations. They rebuild, they'll go to war with a country and rebuild them after they destroy the country. But when it comes to us, the people who built this damn country, people that established this country, made it what it is in all aspects, they're always talking about it has to be a study. And then you get the ignorant among our people that will share that sentiment and repeat that nonsense. It should be a figure by now how much owed to us. And cut our check. That's it. Just cut our checks. Like you do everybody else. But he figured out a round figure, $10 billion. And again, he's using the United States as his personal piggy bank, finding loopholes, trying to sue to get money for his constituents. He want to pay these people off. He want to give them reparations because they suffered in his sentiment. His his mob that he sent over to the Capitol building to stop the steal. That's what they were called, stop the steal, because they didn't want Biden to be confirmed as the president. Say stop the steal.
Who were part of fraud and other white collar offenses. I think they could be in line arguing that they were weaponized by the DOJ. And so, I think we learned really the scope yesterday, the scope of this fund, and it's kind of exactly how it was presented in the settlement agreement.
Yeah, an interesting topic our viewers should pay attention to. Joey Garrison, great to have you with us this Wednesday.
Hey, thanks so much.
That's going to do it for this evening, brothers and sisters. My brother OG, I appreciate you coming through and hanging out with me as we went over corrupt to the core. United States jurisprudence is corrupt, and nobody is worthy of respect and honor. No one should be called your honor that wear a robe because they know the law. They know the law, but they don't adhere to it and they don't enforce it. It's all crooked. Brother, you have any closing words before we wrap this up?
Yeah, excellent stream, brother. We expose all the corruption of the police, the judges, the whole system, man. Excellent job, my brother. Excellent presentation. We just got to keep exposing, the corruption. And in closing words, that Trump also is trying to, sue for Harvard University or Yale University for the younger of the black hats. You know what I mean? So everybody can get reparations or some kind of lawsuit, but we won't come together and do it. That's what really gets me. But it was an excellent presentation. Much love and respect to you, my brother. I apologize for being late, but I enjoyed every minute of it. We got to do it again, my brother. Thank you.
I enjoyed your company. We're going to talk about who's next on the chopping block, brother. We're going to keep exposing them.
Yes, sir.
We're going to keep exposing them. And I thank you for coming through, brother. Salute to you. Peace and love to you and your family.
Peace and love to you and my brother, and I keep in touch. Have a good night, everybody in the chat. Power to the people. Thank you, brother. Have a good night.
You too, brother. Peace. Salute to my brother P. Moses. Salute to my brother Keith Lamont. I appreciate you for coming through. Max V. All those who are in the chat, all those who are in attendance, I appreciate you. I appreciate the missus. She's always attending. And if you haven't gotten your copy of Fire Book 2, get your copy of Fire Book 2. It's on Amazon right now as we speak. Go to books, go to Angela King James, FYRE, Fire Book 2, the finale. Get your copy.
I don't know how I got here. I just know I'm never going back. Just when I thought things were already crazy, it gets worse.
I'm back.
Quan?
Sapphire struggles to deal with her husband's alleged betrayal and coming to terms with Quan being alive after thinking he was deceased. Devontae tries to keep a level head while dealing with family issues and unexpected disloyalty. Memories of Dre enters Devontae's life in a way that he would have never imagined.
Fire Part 2, the finale. Get your copy of Fire. It's definitely a must-read. If you enjoy hood books, this one is it. Just like the title of the book, it's officially Fire. Get it on Amazon, paperback or Kindle.
This is Fire Book 2, the finale by Angela King James. Get your copy. It's on Amazon right now. Good read. You have to get your copy. You won't know what's going on with that copy unless you get this. The original book by Angela King James called Fire. Get your copy at Amazon. Go to books, Angela King James. Get your copy of Fire and Fire Book 2, the finale. Salute to you all. Until next time, this is The Enemy's Public, and I am Brother Nasir. Salute to my brother, Big Dog OG, Big Dog Philly OG. And until next time, peace.
Production. Giving out instruction. Hey. I just keep it intact, this is a fact, right and exact, I won't step back. Admiration is the feeling that inspires your brain to make you gain self-knowledge, not go insane.